CM Punk joins John Cena at the Elimination Chamber in March. Charlotte Flair is heading to SmackDown with a message for Tiffany Stratton. Has the Queen decided on who she wants to face at WrestleMania 41? All this right now on Sports for Beginners. Welcome to WWE Week on Sports for Beginners. It starts right now. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the road to WrestleMania 41, and this past Monday night on Raw, both the Queen, Charlotte Flair, and main event, Jey Uso, were confronted by WWE Women's World Champion, the Eradicator, Bobby Rhea Ripley. And in Jay's case, he was accompanied, I should say confronted, by the ring general and the world heavyweight champion, Gunther. Gunther. Wow. But Charlotte also decided to go to NXT the following night to confront the current NXT Women's Champion, Julia, before she headed off to SmackDown, where tonight on SmackDown, she has a message for WWE Women's Champion, for the WWE Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. It's Tiffy time. Of course, we don't know the answer yet to that. What we do know, whomever Charlotte chooses, she has made it clear, as she did on Tuesday night, that she will be walking in 2025 Women's Royal Rumble winner and walking out the Queen, Charlotte Flair, as champion, whoever she chooses to fight, I should say. On the men's side, Jey Uso will also address a message to the current WWE Undisputed Champion, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes. He will get a visit from Jey Uso. But just like I said for Charlotte, Jey said to Gunther when they met in the ring, whomever I choose, I'm walking in WrestleMania 41, main event Jey Uso 2025 Royal Rumble winner, and walking out main event Jey Uso, and it will be as champion. Well, we're going to find out, I'm sure, over the course of this next month as we enter 1 month away from WrestleMania. 41 in Las Vegas. We are 1 month away from WrestleMania in Las Vegas. And there's a lot to get into. I am your host, Scott McGregor, and oh boy, what a week it has been for Raw and NXT as we head to SmackDown tonight. Of course, we are recording this on a Thursday, and SmackDown is on Friday. What a week we had on the Red Brand and NXT. And on NXT. What a week we had as we head to SmackDown tonight. There is a lot to get into, so we are not going to waste any time and jump right into it. But before we do, however, I do want to take a quick commercial break and come back to talk all things from Monday Night Raw, and then we will work our way over to NXT. And at the end of this show, we'll set up the night of confirmed action that we know of so far for tonight. WWE Friday Night SmackDown. Don't go anywhere because WWE Week is just getting started. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
What a busy traffic on this Friday evening. I am almost stuck in this traffic for the last 40 minutes. And there is no way, I think, for me to get to the show. The Sienna T Radio Song Bank, which is going to start very shortly. It's one of my favorite shows. And my, what a way to wind down for the weekend. Perfect 2 hours of fun-filled music. And she has so many great features. Sound of Music, Undercover, Foreign Exchange. Name That Tune. And the big wheel that she spins for Who's That or Where Are We? We cannot forget about the international stage. I have never come across such a great show in my life. I think I will have to press hard on my accelerator and go as fast as I can to get home in time. Wow! Wow! Look! I made it! I am almost there! Sienna T. Reid, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Now, let's take you back to the action to the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back to Sports for Beginners. On episode 2 of season 4, WWE Week. It's time for the leadoff segment here on the program. Headline and the match card from Monday Night Raw for Monday, February 3rd, 2025. The NXT results from this Tuesday coming up on the other side, as well as their match card. And I understand, I just was actually watching NXT from Tuesday night just before we came onto the show. I understand that if Javon Evans, can get medically cleared, he will get Ethan Page at Vengeance Day in Washington, D.C., the capital of the United States. One Saturday from this Saturday in a one-on-one match. I understand that if Javon Evans can get medically cleared, he will face Ethan Page at Vengeance Day on February 15th, 2025. A lot of other good Vengeance Day matchups coming up, including a triple threat between NXT Women's Champion Julia, former NXT Women's Champion and role model Bayley, who has as I understand, a Elimination Chamber qualifying match on Monday. But we'll get to that in a second. I understand that joining that triple threat is Bayley against Julia, the NXT Women's Champion, and the Prodigy, Roxanne Perez, is going to get Bayley and Julia in a triple threat match at Vengeance Day. All right, let's jump down to what happened on Raw. So here we go. On the red brand on Monday night, Jey Uso, as we mentioned early on, addressed the WWE Universe after winning the 38th annual Men's Royal Rumble match and was confronted by the World Heavyweight Champion in the Ring General Gunther. And also, a headline here is that Charlotte Flair, the Queen herself, returned to Raw to address the WWE Universe after becoming the first women in WWE to win the Women's Royal Rumble match twice. She was accompanied, I should say confronted, by the Eradicator, Mommy, as she likes to be called, but we're going to call her the Eradicator, Rhea Bloody Ripley. Rhea Ripley. And Rhea was saying, on an NXT prior to that to Julia, because it was either Julia or Stratton, I can't remember who. But she had said champion to champion, I just want you to know that I respect you. And well, yeah, okay. Just remember, Rhea, whoever Charlotte chooses, the person who she does not choose will face the winner of the Elimination Chamber match, which could be Liv Morgan or anyone else who is able to compete in the Elimination Chamber match coming up in March. Elsewhere in action, Rhea Ripley was involved, speaking of the Elimination Chamber, trying to help Io Sky punch her ticket to the Elimination Chamber match, but instead, she helped Liv Morgan advance to the Elimination Chamber match. And on the men's side, John Cena already punched his ticket to Toronto at the Elimination Chamber match. To join him, we saw on Monday night, we saw CM Punk in action against the one and only Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn. And after getting pumped up by the visionary, the revolutionary Seth freaking Rollins, it didn't seem to work against CM Punk, as Punk punched his ticket to Toronto at the Elimination Chamber match in March. Elsewhere, Rey Mysterio, I understand, will get Logan Paul next week on Raw in an Elimination Chamber match. He was in action against the New Day, representing the LWO, alongside his tag team partner, Dragon Lee. So it was a tag team match for Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio as they took on Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. It was Kofi Kingston versus, no, sorry, not versus. Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods versus Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio, which is a Hall of Famer. Rey is a Hall of Famer as we speak. He is actually a member of the Hall of Fame in the WWE. And he and Dragon Lee represented the tag team of ALWO, the tag team representing the New Day, I should say, called the New Day, was represented by tag members Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. In singles action, besides the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, Ludwig Kaiser and Penta took to the mat, and it was of course Penta getting the W, despite some of the interesting news going down during that match. So the match card that we knew of was Ludwig Kaiser versus Penta, the New Day versus the LWO, and that would feature Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods versus Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee. Quite an interesting tag team match, I will say. There were some other great matches that our Raw general manager put out in Monday night action. But a lot of the headlines were Jey Uso addressing the media as the winner of the 2025 Royal Rumble and 30th annual men's Royal Rumble match. 38th annual men's Royal Rumble match. Charlotte addressed the universe as well as the first women to win the Royal Rumble match on the women's side 2 times in a row. So it makes me wonder, what kind of message did the Queen send to NXT champion Julia on Tuesday night? Result and match card that we knew of for Tuesday, plus what to expect on both shows next week, and of course, what to expect tonight on Friday Night SmackDown, coming up in a matter of moments. And coming up next, though, what happened on Tuesday night? Some of the big headlines and our match card. Did this trigger, and yes, I said trigger, any surprise matches? I wonder. Stick with us because when we continue on WWE Week on Sports for Beginners, when we continue on WWE Week, we're going to find out what's happened since the aftermath of the WWE Royal Rumble. And what kind of matches we know already are set up for next Monday on the 10th of February. All that going to come up next. Friday Night SmackDown. What's coming up on Raw next week? What do we know about next week for NXT, stay tuned. WWE Week continues. WWE Week continues in a moment.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map. Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back in to season 4, episode 2, WWE Week on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. On the road to WrestleMania, early on in the program, we talked about our headline from Monday Night Raw. We talked about the match card. And of course, we brought up a couple of interesting, since I mentioned early on, I had been listening, but I did not watch NXT live on Tuesday. I had been mentioning that I was re-watching it and finished watching it before we came on the air. And I understand that we have some interesting Vengeance Day matches down in the capital of the United States in Washington. When NXT hits the road to Washington for their premium live event, Vengeance Day, including a triple threat with the role model, Bayley, getting her hands on the prodigy, Roxanne Perez, and the NXT Women's Champion, Julia. But what kind of other craziness went down on Tuesday night? Well, for one, if everyone remembers last week on NXT, the week before this past Tuesday, Oba Femi, the NXT champion right now, also known as the Ruler, had to team up with Rick Williams to take on A-Town Down and Under, A-Town Down Under, I should say, A-Town Down Under in the tag team match against Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. Grayson Waller and Austin Theory are going to get their shot at Oba Femi and his NXT championship in a triple threat match of their own Now, obviously, last week, Trick Williams was not happy about that. And Ava, the general manager of NXT, explained to him, if you think you deserve a shot at Oba's championship, you can prove it next week, as in this week, on NXT in a tag match. And your tag team partner is the champion himself, Oba Femi. Now, I'm gonna tell you right now, when I watched that main event match, it didn't seem like Oba and Trick were getting along. But if it hadn't been for Eddie Thorpe, I don't think Austin Theory and Grayson Waller would have gotten the W. There was clearly some interesting things going down on NXT that I'm sure General Manager Ava was paying attention to. And next week on NXT can be probably shaken up with already some confirmed action. If we don't get to that confirmed action, at least we'll get to Monday's action. But I also want to make sure we save some time to get to tonight's action of the confirmed action. And remember, we're recording this today on Thursday, February 6th, 2025. Getting you set up for Friday night, February 7th, not February 8th, February 7th. 2025. The SmackDown after the Royal Rumble. What kind of words does Tiffany Stratton have for the Royal Rumble winner? And what is the message the Queen, Charlotte Flair, has for Tiffany? We'll find out live on SmackDown tonight. And when I say tonight, if you're catching this on a Friday, that means tonight, as in Friday night, on SmackDown. We'll touch on the confirmed action for Friday night. And all we know so far are two big headlines. We'll also touch on some confirmed action happening on Monday night next week. But to close out our NXT thoughts here, let's take a look at our match card, because yes, we talked about the main event, but what else happened minus all the other headlines? Well, Stephanie Valkyrie took on JC Jane in one-on-one action. Lexis King addressed the NXT universe, the WWE universe, I should say, as the winner of the WWE NXT Heritage Cup champion. And that was met by, well, Fandango, also known now as JDC, a returning superstar JC, JDC, a returning superstar now representing TNA Wrestling. TNA Wrestling. TNA Wrestling. He is now called JCD. JDC, excuse me. He came out to challenge Lexus for the Heritage Cup. And that honestly is going to be an interesting fight. Kilani Jordan took on Carmen Petrovic in one-on-one action. Bayley and Roxanne, leading up to the message that Charlotte had for the champion Julia, they got into a bit of a heated conversation about Vengeance Day, ultimately leading to Bayley asking General Manager Ava to give her next Tuesday on NXT Cora Jade in one-on-one action, it looks like. So that's going to be an interesting fight. And with that said, let's take a look at some of the other headlines. Well, besides the heated conversation that also led to a special message from the Queen herself, Charlotte Flair, to NXT Women's Champion Julia, Stephanie Valkyrie lays waste to JC Jane and Jasmine Nick. To send a message to the NXT's Women's North American Champion, Polani Henley, in singles action. Polani Henley in singles action. Ridge Holland also defeated Channing Stacks Lorenzo in singles action. And yeah, Bayley and Roxanne, they get into a heated exchange ahead of Vengeance Day. And yeah, that's pretty much all she wrote. But like I said before, one of the big matchups to keep an eye on, next Tuesday night is Bayley versus Cora Jade. And you know, this kind of all started after Cora snapped during that heated exchange with Bayley, Roxanne, and then of course Julia, because just before the Queen entered the ring, or came out to at least address Julia, just before that, Bayley and Roxanne were talking about the Royal Rumble, and they also were talking about why Bayley came back. And Roxanne said the reason why Bayley came back to NXT is because she wanted her hand on the NXT Women's Championship. And that's why the match between Roxanne and Julia is also going to feature the role model, Bayley. But you know what? I honestly don't have any big opinion on that, other than the fact that it's going to be a interesting fight at Vengeance Day. It's going to be an interesting fight at Vengeance Day, which, by the way, should be a good premium live event. I am even thinking maybe I should go live after Vengeance Day, but alas, there's some hockey to talk about on Penguins postgame that night. Oh no, sorry. Well, actually, is there? I know the Four Nations tournament begins on Wednesday, so is there action to talk about? No, there's not action to talk about Penguins hockey. So yeah, maybe I could go live with a Vengeance Day recap ahead of Tuesday night on NXT at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. On that Tuesday night of February 18th, 2025. Maybe I could do that. We'll see what I decide. Anyways, all we need to know is that there's going to be some great action coming up on both brands. All right. Monday Night Raw for February 10th. And what to expect that we know of so far tonight on Friday Night SmackDown, when we return to Sports for Beginners, the podcast, WWE Week, on episode 2 of season 4, wraps up as we set up SmackDown. And what interesting act pick are we going to see this coming Monday on Raw? Stay tuned.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment. Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techy, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techy Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techy.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Well, Monday Night Raw was fun after the Royal Rumble, but it only brought up a lot of speculation. Speaking of speculation, we also have speculation for next week on NXT, but we do know that we will see Bayley go head to head with Cora Jade. I mean, that's going to be a good fight. Will it be the main event? Will we see more action? Well, that we don't. Well, that we don't need to worry about. We will see more action. Just when will we see Cora take on Bayley next week? Will it be the main event? Will it kick it off? We don't know. On the red brand, before we get to things to look at for tonight on Friday Night SmackDown, as we are recording this on Thursday, ahead of SmackDown, which is on Friday. A couple of things to keep in mind. It was announced last week on Monday Night Raw, so this week, this past Monday, that the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, is making a return to the red brand. He will dazzle us with his appearance on Raw next week on Monday Night Raw. We have some other great matches, but two of them that we know of so far that are confirmed. Logan Paul will get Rey Mysterio in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match, where the winner will join CM Punk and John Cena in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber, excuse me. The Royal Rumble has come and gone. So we know that John Cena didn't have to compete. He called his shot. His shot was accepted. He doesn't have to compete. This past Monday on Raw, Sami Zayn and CM Punk competed to determine who would be going to the Elimination Chamber, and it will indeed be CM Punk. But who is going to join CM Punk and John Cena in Toronto at the Elimination Chamber in March? Could it be Rey, or will it be Logan Paul? The answers to be determined on Monday Night Raw. Meanwhile, on the women's side, last week it was Liv Morgan at the hands of the unspoken eradicator, Rhea Ripley, advancing to the Elimination Chamber as the first women to advance to the Elimination Chamber after defeating Io Sky. Does Io still have a shot at the Elimination Chamber, or was Liv Morgan her only opportunity? That remains to be seen. This Monday on Raw, we will see Bayley go one-on-one with Lyra Valkyria, I should say. Winner moves on to join Liv in the Women's Elimination Chamber match. On the men's side, Logan Paul will take on Rey Mysterio. The winner will join CM Punk and John Cena in the men's Elimination Chamber match. What other kinds of matches we have in store on Monday? Well, that remains to be seen. But if you were watching closely on Monday Night Raw, eventually you probably got a glimpse at what was coming up next week on Raw. Besides Jey Uso, sorry, not Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio going toe-to-toe with Logan Paul, and of course, Bayley going toe-to-toe with, and I say with, Lyra Valkyria, the inaugural Women's Intercontinental Champion. You kind of want to make this, Elimination Chamber qualifying match a little bit more interesting. But it is what it is. So we shall see what happens. We noticed that The Miz was invited, or should I say, is now on the blue brand on SmackDown. So now, who's he going to fight next on the blue brand? I'm sure we'll find out in a moment's time. So one thing we do know, is that coming up tonight on SmackDown, the Queen will be in attendance to chat one-on-one, I believe one-on-one, with the one, the only, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany and Charlotte will headline Friday Night SmackDown this Friday. Also, Jey returned to SmackDown to holler at the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, the message of his own. And I hear talk that we could see the goddess Alexa Bliss return to SmackDown this Friday or next week on Friday. So much stuff is going down on SmackDown tonight. But what we know that is confirmed and was confirmed on Monday Night Raw was that we got ourselves a message coming up on Friday from both Charlotte Flair and main event Jey Uso. So, what else can we expect on the Blue Brand? Are there any Elimination Chamber matches that are qualifying? Will we see The Miz in a qualifying Elimination Chamber match? Will Nikki Bella return on SmackDown? What is the status of Nikki? I'm sure we'll find out eventually. But one thing we do know for sure, we are on the road to WrestleMania. Thank you very much for joining us here on Sports for Beginners, the podcast. My name is Scott McGregor. That'll do it for another episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast. But don't worry, I will be back with you next week for another episode of the podcast. Until then, my name is Scott McGregor, and we will talk to you again next week right here in Sports for Beginners. Have a great week, everyone, and we will see you next time. And with that all being said, be sure to catch the upcoming Penguins post-game content and spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. We might have some very, very interesting content coming from On the Ice and Behind the Benches to Sports for Beginners when it comes to hockey. We might even be trimming down our coverage of hockey to allow us for some basketball content. But shh, for now, we don't have a full-on confirmation of that. Until we do, we'll talk to you again next time on Sports for Beginners. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.